It's Wednesday, November 3. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. Jamaica's efforts to combat climate change will soon be given a boost with a $1 million grant. Speaking at the 26th Conference of Parties COP26 in Scotland, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the grant is the latest in several initiatives being implemented to strengthen the island's resilience building efforts.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says Jamaica is set to become one of the first countries to develop a predictive climate risk assessment planning tool for major infrastructure investments.
The first of its kind to enable climate analytics to inform public and private sector infrastructure investments and to efficiently allocate financial resources. This will be made available regionally and scaled and replicated.
Mr. Holness says plans are also in place for a national adaptation plan,
which will, among other things, streamline adaptation priorities for funding, the development of a complementary financing plan and investment strategy for adaptation, the implementation of a long-term strategy for low carbon and climate resilient development, along with our updated NDC. Colleagues, friends, the young people of the world are depending on us to take action now.
According to the Prime Minister, Jamaica has conceptualized a pumped hydroelectric storage project for which the country is seeking support. He says the project aims to utilize the island's mountainous topography and sunlight to resolve some of the issues brought on by drought, while also generating hydroelectric power. COP26 is a United Nations climate change conference. For nearly 3 decades, the United Nations has been bringing together every country on Earth for global climate summits called COPs, which stands for Conference of the Parties. This year will be the 26th annual summit, giving it the name COP26. This summit is linked to the Paris Agreement, which was made in 2015 at COP21, where every country agreed to work together to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and aim for 1.5 degrees to adapt to the impacts of a changing climate and to make money available to deliver on these aims. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom Gale.
Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Robert Nestor Morgan, says despite adversities, the nation's youths have continued to excel both nationally and internationally. He says more work is to be done to ensure that they are able to access education, training and jobs.
While our young people have excelled nationally and internationally, admittedly, there's still more to be done to ensure that all our youth have equal and equitable access to education and training opportunities, decent employment, job opportunities, support for entrepreneurship activities, access to sexual, mental, and reproductive health, and protection for those within our society that would bring harm to them.
The Youth Minister was speaking at a recent press conference held to highlight the activities planned in recognition of Youth Month, being observed from November 1 to 30.
Our youth are the most vulnerable to any shock and disaster that our country faces, whether it be economic, social, or political. They are the ones that are most likely to be displaced and negatively impacted. It is our duty as a country, as a community, and as individuals to ensure that we provide the positive and nurturing environment that will allow our youth to evolve into individuals of greater self-awareness, self-confidence, pride of self, and community, and become beacons of positive change, no matter where in the world they find themselves.
He also stressed the importance of this year's theme for Youth Month 2021, Evolve, which implores the nation's youths to adapt to change.
Last year, with the pandemic's impact, we had to rethink our position as we engaged our youth. This year, we've begun to evolve. Therefore, Jamaica, our youth are being called to evolve as the Ministry of Education and Youth and Information makes strides in meeting their developmental needs while contending with the impact of the pandemic.
The vision for a Caribbean single market and economy means the removal of existing barriers of trade and to establish a single market space, which includes services, capital, technology, and the free movement of skilled professionals. Jamaican agricultural exporters have been handed an opportunity to expand on intra-CARICOM markets. On October 29, 2021, exporters of pineapples got some good news. Barbados has been added to the list of countries Jamaican pineapple farmers are able to export to. Marlon Samuels tells us more.
There are increasing benefits to growing pineapples on a large scale in Jamaica. Sugarloaf, Red Spanish, Ripley, and Smooth Cayenne, capable of producing high yields, are the 4 types of pineapples grown on the island. It can be grown all year round. Most are harvested between May and July. The fruit is ready to be reaped 18 months after planting. Thereafter, each plant will produce 1 fruit per year. In 2016, Jamaica reportedly produced over 25,000 tons of pineapples. The combination of ideal growing conditions and improved farming techniques resulted in even greater yields in 2020. Pineapples are traditionally consumed as fresh fruits. The juicy, delicious fruit has lots of nutritional benefits. It has cancer-fighting properties and aids in digestion. If that was not enough, the fruit is also high in fiber, folic acid, calcium, manganese, and vitamins A and C. Pineapples can be eaten as is or used in a variety of dishes. Agro-processors will be pleased to know that there is growing demand for value-added pineapple products, including canned slices and chunk, dried pineapple slices, wedges for toppings, jam and juice concentrates. Byproducts include vinegar, enzymes, and wine. Effective October 29, 2021, Jamaica was given access to export pineapples commercially to Barbados. The new development is part of Jamaica's thrust to expand exports while simultaneously improving the country's earnings from the agricultural sector. Pineapple exporters must register with the Agriculture and Fisheries Ministry, Plant Quarantine Inspection Branch. They also have to maintain export protocols, which includes how the fruit is to be handled, packaged, and certified. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
We now get the latest financial market news in this quick business report with Gabriel Thompson.
In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, November 2, the US dollar sold for an average $155.91. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $125.26. The pound sterling traded for $212.34, and the euro sold for an average $183.99. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 372 points to close at over 406,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 87 stocks, of which 43 advanced, 35 declined, and 9 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 4 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for Barita Investments Limited, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, CIC 2000 9.5% preference shares, and Everything Fresh Limited. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited was the volume leader with over 1.5 million units, followed by Future Energy Source Company Limited ordinary shares with over 1 million units, and Maybury Investments Limited with over 600,000 units. In market data for oil, prices fell on Wednesday as industry data pointed to a big build in crude oil and distillate stocks in the United States, the world's largest oil consumer, and as pressure mounted on OPEC to increase supply. Brent crude futures were down $1.38 or 1.6% to $83.34 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures tumbled $1.60 or 1.9% to $82.31 a barrel. And with that, we close this Wednesday edition of the Business Report Inside the News on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
Here is something to consider. When you make a trip to the dentist, it's important to let them know about all the medications that you are taking. Find out why in today's Living Healthy report featuring Dr. Heather Lawson-Myers on her HD Jazz platform.
I'm HD. Welcome to another episode of HD's Jazz. Can you see this beautiful Norfolk pine behind me covered with moss? It is beautiful, even better in person. It's right here at the Royal Hope Botanical Gardens. But I have a question for you today in our true Jamaican vernacular. You didn't know? David, can I show you something? All right, come in closer, really, really close. This is so ideal to show you what I'm going to be talking about today. Do you see how this looks like it's rotting? It's actually dying on the inside, yet still, when you look, it has so much life on the outside. It reminds me of a condition in the jaw known as osteonecrosis. Fancy word, but it means that the bone inside the jaw is dying. Now, outside looks fine, but inside it's a major problem, as you can see. So someone with osteonecrosis of the jaw literally has dead cells in the jawbone. What would cause that? There is a wonderful category of drugs known as bisphosphonates. Yes, you've heard of them. Actonil, Boniva, Fosamax, they all fall under the category of bisphosphonates, which work very well at strengthening the bones for cancer patients or patients with osteoporosis. But in the jawbone, if the jaw experiences trauma, say from an ill-fitting denture or an extraction while you're taking the medication, you can develop osteonecrosis. So make sure that your healthcare providers are informed about everything that you're doing. You didn't know? Yes, now you know. So make sure that they know what you know. Bisphosphonates are a category of drugs that have truly allowed cancer patients and patients suffering from osteoporosis to come into the freedom of movement. It strengthens bones, but it also creates a challenge in the jawbone. Extractions, ill-fitting dentures, anything that puts pressure on the jawbone, if you're taking bisphosphonates, can lead to osteonecrosis, death of the cells in the jawbone. So make sure that your dentist is aware of any medication that you're taking, but in particular, bisphosphonates. Because look around, there's so much to enjoy when you're feeling well and when your bones are strong. Beautiful flowers. Listen, I'm here in the Royal Hope Botanical Gardens, but you need to come and see for yourself because I'm out of here. Catch you next time on HD's Jazz. Facebook, YouTube.
And we go to news across the region. Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Trade and Industry says consumers will see a difference in the price of their groceries due to the government's zero-rated mandate on a number of items.
Value-added tax has been removed from oil, canned beans, tuna, and dozens of other food items from today. This as the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbers, announced move to include additional items to the zero-rated food basket comes into effect. Minister of Trade and Industry, Paula Gopi-Schoon, visited 2 supermarket chains to ensure that the measure is being implemented.
I think we've captured, walking through the supermarket, I think we've captured quite a number of products. It may be 58 new items that are now zero-rated, but in fact it translates to thousands in terms of SKUs, thousands, different types of each product, etc., etc.
Minister Gopi-Schoon notes officers from the Consumer Affairs Division will visit grocery stores across the country to ensure that they are also removing VAT from the listed items.
I'm hoping that all supermarkets would have been compliant, and not only the supermarkets, but the food importers and distributors, because VAT is also taken off at the point of entry. And of course, when the importers are selling to the retailers, the distributors selling to the retailers, VAT also has to be taken off.
But not everyone was satisfied with the level of reduction in the food prices. One consumer who had visited a couple of places earlier in the day voiced his concern.
Yes, we appreciate the removal of VAT on most prices, but really, during this time, it is a tremendous struggle for the average citizen to put food on his table. It is an absolute struggle.
Mr. Singh called for more focus on householders growing their own food. And meanwhile, Minister Gopi-Schoon reminds that a simple decision by consumers to buy local or regional goods will make an even greater difference in the cost of their food bill. Terry Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
Over in Grenada, the question is being asked, to flog or not to flog. The question is up for debate among the population after one local attorney says it's time to remove corporal punishment.
Our Constitution is clear. Punishment cannot be degrading or inhuman. That is in quotes. No punishment can be degrading or inhuman. And I think Exhibit A of degrading and inhuman punishment is to bend a man over, expose his buttocks, and beat him with a cane.
Attorney at law Jerry Edwin is denouncing corporal punishment. He calls it slavery-era practice that he says has been retained by our law books.
Grenada is the only country in the Caribbean where we have decided to retain this slavery-era practice of flogging a person. Because I think most people would agree, in the 21st century, we are still continuing to flog, to beat. And that is something I think is, I want to be respectful this morning, but that's really messed up.
Edwin explains what he sees as the wrong in using stringent force or corporal punishment. He described it as despicable and barbaric, while naming some countries where this practice have been abolished. The attorney believes it's poor people that have become targets of this type of punishment.
Not flogged for stealing money as an accountant. Flogging on the books is for predial larceny with a threat and for robbery with violence. This is a crime, a punishment that segregates people by class. Because if that were not the case, you would see flogging for persons who violate women. We would see flogging for other kinds of crime, but we do not see it for that. Flogging is only for those kind of crimes that are committed by the poor.
Edwin says there has never been a challenge to the practice before the constitutional motion was brought forward in 2016. This is how easy it is, he says, to remove it from the law books.
The government of Grenada just has to pick up its pen and sign maybe 3 lines, maybe 4, or maybe just put a line through the words, and it's over, done. Because the parliament in Grenada, the current parliament, has a majority. All you need, this is not a punishment, say like a referendum to change our constitution. You don't need a supermajority. You don't have to go to the public for a vote. All the parliament has to do is to just strike it off our books.
Mr. Edwin was guest on GBN's To The Point morning program on Monday. Chrislina John, GBN News.
Over in St. Kitts and Nevis, officials in the Fisheries Ministry says the advancements of aquaculture is viable on the island and is part of the agricultural reform being pursued. Glenn Bart has the details.
Responding to an SKN Newsline query at the October press conference of the Prime Minister, Permanent Secretary Collins said provision has been made in the Department of Marine Resources to pursue the development of aquaculture.
Advanced technologies coupled with the environmental plus that we have and issues of food safety and food supply makes aquaculture a really viable option for us. And it is something that we are pursuing as part of the reform and advancement agenda for agriculture. Currently, we have some 4 farms that are doing subsistence agriculture, but we would have named some recently on one of the Prime Minister's leadership matters that we have some 14 projects that we are being supported with outside of our budget, our work program by allied institutions, and part of it is the Amixid program, which is a 2-part support, and one seeks to provide support to our farmers and to our federation in the area of advancement in the aquaculture activities here. We do have that dedication and have made provision in the Department of Marine Resources for it, and part of the project is also building the capacity in the Department of Marine Resources to support farms that are doing aquaculture. So it is part of the entire process of advancing agriculture and fisheries, and very much important for us.
According to the Food and Agricultural Organization, small-scale fisheries and agriculture can make critical contributions to development and employment. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
And in sports, on Tuesday, the Jamaica Football Federation, the JFF, announced the suspension of senior Reggae Girls head coach Hubert Busby over allegations of sexual misconduct. The announcement of an interim coach is expected in the coming weeks. The allegations surfaced in a piece carried by the British daily The Guardian last Thursday. Mr. Busby was alleged to have made sexual advances to player Mallory Enoch during her recruitment in 2010 and 2011 for the Vancouver Whitecaps program. In a release, the JFF indicated that it has written to FIFA requesting a complete investigation of the matter, after which a final decision regarding Mr. Busby's fate with the Reggae Girls program will be made. And that's our package. You've just watched the news on a PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.